is the Community Development Commission at 12 o'clock. If we could do a roll call.
Commissioner Cole.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
Commissioner Davis.
Present.
Commissioner Bailey. Commissioner Green.
Here.
Commissioner Dean has an excused absence. Commissioner Robledo. Chair Stubbs.
Present.
Other Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
And Commissioner Tim.
Here.
All right, the first agenda item is the approval of the minutes. Do we have any corrections to the minutes? And if not, do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the minutes as written.
Second.
All those in favor of the approval of the minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. And I'll turn it over to the staff for the scheduled business.
Yeah, election.
I believe we have an election, actually, which I did know about. So it's now time to elect a chair and vice chair of the Community Development Commission for 2025. Are there any nominations for the position of the chair?
I nominate Bessie Johnson, Commissioner Johnson.
Any other nominations? Okay. This is my first time doing this, so bear with me, everybody. I move to nominate Bessie Johnson for the position of chair for the Community Development Commission of the 2025 calendar. Do I have a second?
Second that nomination.
Okay, any opposed? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. And any opposed? You can't oppose, no. Oh, yeah, technically. Okay, so the motion passes, and thank you, Bessie Johnson, for accepting that. And now we move to elect a vice chair. Besides,
It's her. She's the president. She's the chair now.
okay. You are now the elected chair. Do you want to come sit over here?
Oh, that's just fine. I'll sit here. I'll get my stuff all spread out anyway. Yes, so now we need nominations for vice president.
Vice chair.
I'm happy to do it again if nobody wants.
I nominate Robin Davis.
Nominate Robin. I've got a second. Any other nominations? If not, all in favor of Robin being the vice chair?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, Robin, congratulations. Okay, so now we have applicant presentations. So apparently you, Ann, that goes ahead.
Sure.
Okay.
I can kick it off. I think this is the most fun time of the year when we get to hear, well, it's sad to hear about all the needs within the community, but it's also a great opportunity to see how the Community Development Block Grant Funds can support needs in our community. So we will be hearing presentations this meeting and your next meeting in a few weeks. I didn't think to send you guys this, but I did ask the agencies to just give us a quick overview. We have about 5 minutes. I mean, we have a little wiggle room there. And then this is really your chance to ask them questions. And I did ask that they cover the following questions. Just generally what community need will be addressed by the project. A recap of who and how many residents will benefit from their activity, and describing their clientele, number served, and the description of their demographics or income ranges. then why CDBG funding is needed and is a good fit for their activity. And lastly, if not fully funded, can the agency proceed with the activity? And I asked them just to assume for discussion purposes, if they were to receive half their award, because this comes up when we have a lot of competition. So with that, we've tried to have an order so people could be ready, and especially if they need to leave after they present. We have Stephanie Miller with CARDVA. She's going to present first. And I also, just to make it easy, so you can just listen, I said no slides, right? So just to keep it easy for them, and we're ready to listen. So we're normally not in this room, but if you don't mind sitting up at the table there, and then making sure you can use the microphone. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Is it working?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me, commissioners. My name is Stephanie Miller. I'm the executive director of CARDVA, which stands for Center Against Rape and Domestic Violence. We've been around for about 43 years and continue to be the only provider of confidential shelter for individuals and families fleeing from domestic violence and sexual violence and stalking. This year, we are asking for $30,000 to help support hiring of a case manager at 0.64 FTE. Our services are 24/7 with hotline, call center, as well as confidential shelter, legal advocacy. And so we're finding a need to supplement our evening and overnight hours with an additional staff to take those calls from midnight to 7 a.m. And the unique service that we provide in our 24/7 hotline is that we do go into the community and meet folks in the community. Even if it's at 3 o'clock in the morning, they're calling and saying, this is the only time I need help. And so having an additional staff member would really be able to help us not only go into the community, but serve more people. We are estimating each year we provide 125 individuals and children with confidential shelter. Of that, we're estimating that we'll help 25 Albany residents in our 30-day shelter. When they are in our shelter, we provide them with basic necessities of food, clothing, financial assistance, and housing case management so that they can move and transition into safe housing. Our shelter, if I haven't said this again, is 30 days, roughly. I want to also acknowledge that CDBG Albany funds last year and has provided us with over $5,000 in funding to augment shelter stays and to include hotels and motels, confidential motels. So what we're requesting is not for that. It is to help support an additional staff member. We are just barely a $2 million organization. 75% of our staff are direct client-facing in staff, and so this will really help. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie. No,
Yeah.
how many, I missed it, how many would the new staff added, how much would that be for staff?
It would be 0.64 FTE of one advocate, confidential advocate. But we're asking for 30,000. Yeah.
Quick question, Courtney here. I remember last year the $5,000 specifically going towards a fence and locks on a door. but maybe I'm,
Oh, so we have multiple CDBG
Okay.
funding, and so that's the one that's in the works right now. But the year prior, before, was to help support motel payments.
okay, thank you.
So I had a question. So the $30,000 is for this 0.64 FTE to take kind of night and evening calls.
Yes.
And you said that total number of people served in the shelter is approximately 125 in a year, of which 25 are Albany residents?
That's what we're estimating based on previous year's numbers. Yeah.
Sure. And in your application, the cost per person was, it looked like that money was being applied to 25 people, but I suspect the reality is this position services all the people.
Yes, yes. But
Not-
since it is, I wanted to try to break it down to who in Albany.
Sure. But there's not like an Albany number. It's whoever is calling the shelter.
Yes, yeah, we're providing services for everybody, but to extrapolate what percentage of them are Albany residents.
Okay, thank you.
Question. The 0.64 FTE, does that mean there will be one person doing partial hours, or does that
That's
simply?
just to simply support, to supplement the cost of, we'll be hiring the individual
It'll
full-time.
be a full-time,
But
okay.
this grant is $30,000, so that equates to about 0.64.
Thank you.
Okay.
Question I have is,
Yeah.
so Albany's paying 0.64 of an FTE. What are the other funders providing?
So we'll have to take it out of our unrestricted funds.
But
right.
is Corrales CBD money coming from them?
So we are applying for Corvallis funding as well, right? So just to give you an idea of where our revenue streams come from, roughly about 68% comes from government funding, government meaning local, state, fed. And so funding from CDBG, Corvallis, and Albany really has been instrumental in being able to provide some of those staffing needs and financial assistance.
So you have 150, she said, 150 residents?
Last year, we had 125 individuals and children. Of the 125, who were in our shelter, not counting motels, just in shelter, 125. And out of that, 64% were under the age of 12.
But only 25 directly was
Albany, yes.
So I'm struggling with
yes.
funding over
Yeah.
50% of this person, and only, what, 25%
Yeah.
of the people there are
Yeah.
residents of Albany?
This is just, now we're just guessing because not everybody does share where they're from, right? In terms of what county, where they live, city. And so we're just basing it on those who reported where they're coming from, just because we don't want to assume.
Yeah, you don't want to discriminate against them, like
Right.
just because you're from Corvallis, I can't help you because we don't have yet the money or whatever.
But but last year we know that the roughly about 24, 25 out of that number of 125 were indicated they were from Albany.
And so by your help, are these people able to get out of the situation and move forward? Most of them?
Most, but honestly, some also do go back.
Yep.
That's just when we talk about generational violence.
It's too bad. Okay. Any other questions for Stephanie?
I have a question.
Okay, sure.
Kind of along the mayor's line, Commissioner Alex Johnson's questions, because CDBG funds have to be used for Albany residents, and then that proportion of their time has to,
Yes.
as best as possible, be towards that service to Albany residents. Is this position serving anyone who calls, of course, between the hours on the shift, or is this position like located in Albany to reach the Albany?
Yeah,
'Cause I
good
think you have
question. Good
another
question. Yeah,
shelter in
yes.
Corvallis, and so
Yeah.
we would have to figure
Mhm.
out Albany's proportionate share.
Yeah,
That's all.
so we have time and effort, time sheets that have different funders and then they have to indicate when their activities are directed towards certain grants. And if we were awarded this grant, it would be, that would indicate that they're working with an Albany resident. That's how we've done those kind of things before. Yeah.
And you estimate, even though 25 people may not be, it may be a lot more households, it's
Right.
really just
Yes.
20% of the numbers served, although, when you're looking at kids being 64%. I think that's where we're
Oh,
going with the
right,
math,
right.
is that
Sure.
you're
Yeah,
asking
yeah.
for 64% of
Yeah.
a position to be funded with Albany CDBG money, but
Right.
if only 20 to,
So it's,
Percentage of
including activities of answering the hotline, doing case management, working with other organizations or providers. And so and also, not having the exact number, we're just estimating based on reported numbers. And so we'll have a better, hopefully, it's really actually how you ask the questions on where your county of residence is or city of residence is, right? And again, some people will ask that directly and some people still choose not to. But yes, this position is 0.64. That's for the pay, and 0.64% of the benefits for the individual. Yeah.
The numbers you quoted for total overall numbers and the Albany estimate, does that include everyone you've taken calls with on the hotline and you're just giving, let's say, resource information to for healthcare or law
Oh,
enforcement?
good question. It doesn't include any of that. I'm just including, those numbers of 25 is just for those in our shelter.
Because you give a lot of volume of
Right.
information out. Other than
Yeah,
that, right?
we get roughly about 4,300 calls a year,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Yeah.
One last question. So 125 residents stayed in your shelter last year.
Right.
Out of 125, only 25 reported that they're from Albany.
Correct.
Um, Maybe inform me on why we can't track the other 100. Like if 64% or whatever percentage was below the age of 12,
Yeah.
but you're not able to land where they're from.
Right, and it's we know the other percentages, some are from Corvallis, from outside this area. And again, we're just basing on reported, who's reporting, and who chooses to disclose. Right, not everybody discloses where they're from. They'll call and say, and they may call from Corvallis, but maybe they took a bus, or maybe they got dropped off, or they drove. Right.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Now, if there's no more questions,
Thank you for coming.
okay, so thank you for your
Thank you so
presentation.
much for your
Appreciate it.
time.
No, and I need to ask you, because I'm trying to wrap my head around, it's been like 2 months since I've been here, and it's been a while since we've done this. Now, this is not the public service. I see in my notes from last year, my chart, that Cardva is in the right side, the special.
no. So you need to look at your chart from this year. What they're requesting is actually public services funding. Any improvements to a shelter was facilities, but since this is actually related to activity delivery and serving people, it's a
Okay.
public services activity. Yep.
Oh, great.
Okay.
That helps. Thank you.
Sure. So
Another new chart. Got it.
yeah, next up, we are going to hear from YMCA Director Chris Reese. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chris Reese, CEO for the Mid-Willamette Family YMCA. As you know, the community after-school program dissolved last year, so GAP's called us to take over CAP. I have a very good partnership with John Anderson and Boys and Girls Club. I immediately reached out to them and said, I don't want to just take the whole thing. That's your job. That's your responsibility. But we are going to share those responsibilities. And because of our great relationship over the last 6 years, we'll be able to provide a lot of great stuff for the community. We coexist in a great fashion. We meet regularly with GAPS, and together we're making a big difference. We are asking for $18,000 this year to provide 24 families $125 off their monthly membership. We are the only ones that provide before school care as well as after school care. So both of us do after school care, Boys and Girls Club and us. We provide before school. We have the ability to go to 4 schools right now. We decided to take the west and north area, and John and Anderson and Boys and Girls Club take the east side just to divide that equally. And so right now we're currently in Oak Elementary and North Albany Elementary. And so we could provide 24 families with $125 a month for before and after school care with this $18,000. And how we're going to divide that out is based on AMI. So if you don't know what that acronym is, that's the area median income. So 50% of that $18,000 would go to folks that are extremely low income. 30% would go to low income and 20% moderate income of that $18,000. So we're just trying to help families in great need. As you've seen over the last 6 years since I've been there, we don't get a lot of donations. A lot of people drive by and see all the stuff that we've done, but that is grant writing that I personally wrote a lot of those grants. A couple other folks helped with that. We're not a charity of choice. We need help. It's tough to get donations in today's society, and we don't get a lot. So we're just trying to cover deltas. Where we've been very successful is in our Early Learning Child Development Center, which has been fantastic. We provided over 350 kids the opportunity to continue to learn during COVID, which was more than any organization in the Tri-County area. And so we're covering deltas. We're not in competition with anyone. We just cover deltas in the times of crisis and need. So right now, with ERDC being turned off as well in our Early Learning Child Development Center, which is that's a crisis across the nation, but specifically in Oregon right now, not getting ERDC is something that I'm fighting on the legislative level to try to fix that problem. But where we can help in our community right now is to try to get us $18,000 from the CDBG funding to provide at least 24 families with $125 off, which doesn't sound like a lot to maybe a lot of us, but it's a significant amount to the folks that we serve on a daily basis. So, any questions?
Chris, did you say 124 or 24?
24 families at $125 off per month for the last 6 months of 2025.
Okay.
And what is that monthly price, or does that vary?
It's $250, so that gives 50% off.
Okay.
So, and that's before and after school. So day one under Melissa Goff's timeframe, I was able to get busing finally to come to the YMCA. They weren't coming to the YMCA. Now we have public school transportation coming. In our first year that I was there, it's awesome to see our school buses just rolling through the Y now. But offering that before school care is a really big deal to our workers that are working at 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning. So we got a large number coming in. We have 250 kids there now, which is, again, not our primary responsibility. But John, they don't have enough room at the Boys and Girls Club. So I always tell people if they're asking, I go, did you call the Boys and Girls Club first? Are they full? Okay, now the why. That's just how we're rolling, and it's awesome. So that's why the club and I, we are tied at the hip. We're big fans of each other, and we support one another at the highest levels. So it's been fantastic last 6 years doing that together.
That's great.
Question?
That's great. Any
So
other questions?
you said that the time, I'm just trying to understand the timing of the program. It sounded like you said the last 6 months of the year. So this is like a June through the end of the year.
Based on when we get the funding, it should be that last of 25.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. So part of this would happen over the summer, and then part of this would happen during the school year. How does this program modify over the summer when there's no school?
Yeah, it doesn't. So it's just it'll be the end of this school year. By the time we get the funding, it'll be probably the end of this school year. I don't know when the funding is supposed to come forth, but it's the last 6 months of this year would cover the last, so when does the funding actually get awarded here?
Well, so funds aren't available until at least July 1st, and it really depends on when the federal government allocates money, and it takes quite a while for us to even know what our dollar amount is. So that impacts our ability to turn in our application, and they have to turn it around, and then getting under contract. We try to get it as close to when we get approval from HUD and get under contract with them.
Yeah.
It's usually August, but I mean, if you're really looking at before and after school care, you're probably looking at September, October, November,
Well,
December?
to further answer that
Okay.
question, we have summer programming that goes
Okay.
from the typical 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So that covers that school timeframe. So parents will have to still come through, and then they'll go from their before school program to a summer fun program. So the club and us, we have summer programming where we have, several hundred kids come in, and they'll then go from that before school care, which is just, basically childcare system, to a summer programming thing. And then after the summer programming ends at that sharp at 5, then they go to that after school programming until parents can get to them. So much like a school environment. So it's the same thing. So it would start in July through the end of December.
Okay, so this program then would really still cover those before and after time
Just like
slots,
school, yeah.
But it would be whether it's school or this other program.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Good.
And,
Thank you.
excuse me, would the buses run then during the,
No, sir.
buses won't run during the,
Not the summer months, no, sir.
right?
So parents would drop off at like 5:30 in the morning, and then the kids would stay until that summer programming, or they have another source or a resource for taking them. But usually a lot of these kids will come at that 6 o'clock in the morning. They'll stay that 2 hours, and then they get into that summer program where they call them tribes. And then they go off with their counselors and do fun things all day long. But then when that ends, parents still aren't off work. So they go back into the.
And the
after
buses
school
are ready to go, the
There's
district,
no buses in the summer months.
but
sir.
no, I mean in the fall.
Oh, yes,
The
sir.
district's got the
Oh,
routes
yeah,
all set.
they're
and all
dialed,
that.
yeah, before and after, yeah. So
I've
it's
seen it.
fantastic. Not to get them there at 5:30 in the morning, that's a parent drop off.
Uh-huh,
But then they
right.
take them from the YMCA to school when it's time to go. Yeah.
It's a little early for those bus drivers. Yes, Courtney?
At
ma'am.
250 capacity, or do we have a waiting list? Do we have room for more?
Yeah, right. Well, no, the 250 is definitely not a capacity. We have 2 other schools that we have options to go to. So right now we consolidated down to limit the amount that GAPS is paying out in bus drivers. So we limited it down to Oak and to North Albany Elementary, but we have the ability to go to 2 or 3, 4 other schools when it's that time. And we think we'll get there because when a CAP was around at their best 8 years ago, pre-COVID and up till COVID, they were in numbers of 650 to 700.
Wow.
Significant amount of money to go there. We obviously charge significantly less because of how we do it. But right now we're limited down to 2 schools only because we're trying to save GAPS and school bus money because we don't have a lot of school bus drivers out there. So we reduced that footprint down to 2 schools. It worked great. 0 complaints. The parents were ecstatic about it. So we see this continuing to grow and grow and grow. We'll probably get to that 4 and 5 schools in the next 2 years.
So is there a waiting list then
Not yet.
right now?
No.
So
No,
it's,
but we're getting more and more people every month that they hear
I
about it.
can imagine you've grown
Yeah.
quickly as it is.
Yes, ma'am.
with the time frame that you've done it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we went from 24 to 250 kids. So it just went gangbusters.
I can imagine the more space that you open up, that people would just be knocking on doors looking for help.
Yeah. Yep. At both for the club and us
Mhm.
as the schools. They're very ecstatic that cheaper and more convenient. And now parents feel like they can get back to work. So
That's good.
I don't have any questions.
Any other questions for Chris? It's a great thing. Appreciate it.
have
Thanks,
an awesome day.
Chris.
Thank you. So next up, we have Scott Withers. He is with the Boys and Girls Club of Albany.
Hello, everybody. Chris just gave you a lot of background on kind of the things that we're partnering with together. One clarification, we are doing before school care. When CAPS split up,
Say that again.
we are doing before school care also. When CAPS split up and the district came to us at the beginning of the year, the talk was we took like the Timber Ridge, Meadow Ridge type area and South Shore. So we're running morning programs over at Meadow Ridge. And then we have busing that takes any students from South Shore or Timber Ridge. Well, Timber Ridge, they walk. South Shore, they
So
get
Sunrise involved in that?
bust
at all?
over there. The morning care specifically was kind of dialed into the schools that start later. So South Shore was the only one on that side of town that started after 8:30. So there was no with timing and stuff. If they were to get dropped off at 6:30 in the morning and then their school starting at 7:30, they were going to be at the school for 15 or 20 minutes before they got picked up. So we focused on the schools that were late start schools. So, however, for this, that is not our focus. Our focus for requesting the funds for this is for summertime. Kids don't have school. They don't have anywhere to go. They need something safe, fun, with positive mentors that are around them. I'm sure as you guys have been in the community for a long time, you kind of know the history of what the club does and the services that it provides, and growing all the time, trying to make sure we're still affordable for families at all levels. We're asking for $10,800 for the course of July of this year, August of this year, so summertime, and then June, it'll be like a week of June in 2026. That is to cover $25 off of what the summer charge is for 50 students per week. So we'll serve about 200 to 225 students during the summertime. That's where we've been at. We may be a little bigger this summer, just being completely honest, we're about 40% this year increased attendance in all of our after school programs. And a lot of it was just because we struggled to hire staff for a long time. As we went through the pandemic and came out of it, it was really tough to hire people that wanted to stay around. Our staffing situation is so much better right now. And as a result, there's no wait lists and kids can get into the program. So we have about 40% more kids for the 24-25 school year than we did for the 23-24 school year. Some of that is going to spill over to summertime. So we are about 73% low or extremely low income for our summer programs. We charge $75 a week. This scholarship program helps knock that down to $50 a week. It comes with 2 meals, care from 8 until 5:30. It comes with a field trip every single week. Some of those are educational, some are fun. It's providing them an opportunity to get out in the community and be involved, or take a group to OMSI and learn STEM stuff, or take a group to the Silver Creek Falls and do like nature hikes and teach them about being outdoors and teach them about being healthy. And basically the summer program just helps to replace all the things they would get during a school day while having safe, positive place. It's fun. They want to be there. And we can tie educational aspects into that they don't even realize they're getting. So they're fed, they're cared for by all professional staff and volunteers who go through the full background checks and training before they're ever allowed with the kids. So, is there any specific questions kind of about like what it would be for or what the program does in the summertime?
Is this the same program as last year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the funds have been really instrumental in just taking it, or specifically families that have more than one kid, and dropping that price down just $25 to help them. So it basically breaks down to $10 a day to get care from 8 to 5:30 and all their meals provided and everything.
Good program.
Yeah.
Any questions?
I just want to say, growing up with a single mom, like I lived at the Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
And those were where my summers were. I went to the movie theaters that way, like went on the field trips, had the best safe care. Every day after school, got bused to the Boys and Girls Club. And a big raising of my childhood was right there in that building. So I just want to say, like, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
A future kid, a kid from the past to the now. It was stability for me. It was like positive role models. I got to do the rock shop. I got to play sports.
Yeah.
I got to have friends. So super powerful thing that a lot of people need.
Yeah, we're really lucky to have support and everything. And just like programs like this grant really help to just be able to keep families in the door. Summertime, we charge per week. As most of you probably know, our school year fees are $25 for kids to come for the whole school year. That's September 1st until the end of the year. That's their membership. It's everything included. It's care every day after school until 7 o'clock. And then we have a couple school sites open now too. So doing everything we can in the community to make sure it's affordable for them and make sure that we're providing experiences in a positive way that the kids wouldn't get if they didn't come to the club every day. So summertime, we're open a lot more hours. During the school district shutdown, a couple, in November, opened at 8, went until 5:30, knocked all fees off for everyone. So it was free for any kids that were signed up to come to the club. So doing everything we can to try to just keep moving forward and be that positive influence we can on families in the community.
I must say my children went through your program when they were little. They're all grown kids now, but I appreciated being able to drop my children off and not be worried about their safety, and coming to watch them play sports and participate in activities. It's a really great thing you're doing. So keep it up.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And we really appreciate the support we've had in the past and hope to continue that with the future for this. So
I'm good.
And we
I have no
have-
more questions.
We have fine representation. Commissioner
Yeah.
Stubbs, Commissioner Johnson. I mean, hey,
yeah,
it's a good
and
program.
yeah, we really appreciate it. So thank you all.
Any other questions?
We're good.
Awesome.
Great. Thanks.
Have a great day, everyone.
What was your last name,
Thank you.
Scott?
Withers.
Withers, okay.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate it. I almost called you.
All right, yeah, thank you
Okay.
so much. And my kids went to all these programs, Lifesavers for Working Parents. So next up, not our last but not least, we have Albany Partnership for Housing, and Sharon Canopa and Sarah Drayton are here from the Albany Partnership to talk about their requests. And unlike the other three that you heard earlier, these are not public service dollar requests, just so you know. So in your matrix, it'll be over on the far right, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Hi, Sharon. Good to see
All
you.
right.
I do have one question, Ann.
Yes.
On the right, there's a little small writing. What is that telling us?
You know what? I don't have the matrix with me. I see. Yep. Thank you. So I was trying to add up the total requests for public services and then the other. So we have a
So the housing
total.
is, so the housing is a 310 and the other service is 143.
That's right.
That's how I interpret. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, Sharon.
I feel like we're having a reunion here.
I know.
I know. So hello, everyone. And for the record, I'll introduce myself. I'm Sharon Canopa, and I'm president of Albany, board president of Albany Partnership for Housing and Community Development. And this is Sarah Drayton Ort, and she is our administrative compliance property manager. And she is being transitioned into taking over my duties and to be our executive director. So when I retire, so we have a lot of work we're doing, but she's wonderful fit, and she's been with us for 11 years and knows the nuts and bolts of our organization. So I feel like I'll be, leaving everything in good hands with Sarah. So with that, I went ahead and just wrote up answers to each of the 4 questions that Ann had sent. First question is, what community need will be addressed by the project? Albany Partnership for Housing and Community Development, along with Lynn Benton Housing Authority, are Albany's oldest nonprofit housing providers. We have all rent and Albany Partnerships been since 1991. We have all rent-restricted, low-income housing and strive to keep our rents low to serve the need in our area, mostly for rent-burdened households. These funds are to preserve one of Albany's lowest rent properties and to provide cooling centers for 2 community rooms and a property partnered with Lynn County Mental Health for behavioral health services. We spent 1 year going through a very cumbersome process with Energy Trust of Oregon to seek HVAC systems for the 2 community rooms, and they were not, the assistance was not feasible for us. Second question was a quick recap from the application of who and how many will benefit from the activity, number of people expected to serve, describe clients, their income ranges, and demographics. The last 3 are part of already that's in our application, so I'm not going to repeat all that for you. But all 3 of our property rent ranges are from $352 a month to $926 a month, which is 4-bedroom, 2-bath, which includes city water, sewer, storm, city service fee, and waste disposal. Our life skills tenants' rents include electricity and gas. So as you can see, that $352 a month pays for all, and utilities are included. 28 of these properties, just the 3 properties, we have more. 28 household incomes are at the 30% or below AMI. 25 household incomes are at the 50% or below. 29 household incomes are at the 50 to 80% AMI. This does not include our other properties. And as I stated, the income ranges and demographics are listed in our application. So why CDBG funding is needed and a good fit? Are there other sources of funding for this activity? The only source of revenues APHCD receives is from tenant rents. We are not allowed by Oregon Housing and Community Services to charge a fee for cost recovery of our community rooms uses. This, I know it's kind of sounds crazy, but when you sign on, say, Songbird Village 25 years ago, and you get in your declarations with Oregon Housing, it is like the gospel. It stays forever. And Oregon Housing can change program and requirements as years go on, and we have to be able to comply with it. The community rooms do not provide any source of income and are subsidized by the tenants. In order to replace the roof and HVAC system, we would need to raise the tenants' rents. Yet rent increases are needed to support rising insurance costs, rehab, and staffing costs. OHCS restricts their compliance properties in the amounts that they can raise rents at 5%. In order to raise above 5% requires a significant amount of additional compliance reporting. One piece would we have to hire a third-party entity to come in and do all interior and exterior capital improvement assessments. That's quite a significant amount of extra cost if you want to go above the 5% rent increase. But Albany Partnership and Housing has only raised our rents 3 times in the past 10 years. So the fourth question, if not fully funded, can the agency proceed with the activity? For discussion purposes, let's assume half of your grant award. This will have to be considered whether seeking CDBG funds with the higher cost for a project with the prevailing wages, and if HUD compliance reporting will be feasible for us to pursue to pay the difference. I'll give you an example. The one roof bid that I received was $36,175 if they had to do the project under CDBG requirements. If without the requirements was $18,945. So if we were awarded half of our request, we would have to kick in $18,000. So then it wouldn't be worth for us to go through all the compliance regulations through HUD to be able to get the funds. This is sort of an issue. We didn't find that with the HVAC systems, but we found that they were pretty much already paying the companies the prevailing wages. But it wasn't when we went to seek the roofing bids and for the siding bids too. So I could, if you ever want to hear an earful on that, would be Lynn Benton Housing Authority. They've been really struggling through that, going with their new project that they're currently building right now. So it does significantly raise the cost. But it is very beneficial to get the funds when you are a nonprofit to be able to help, to be able to pay for the capital improvements. So that was the questions that we were asked. And is there any questions?
Any questions?
Yes, it was half. I know. So yeah, well, I tell you, anything that it comes for, capital improvements and stuff that, is all increased, when it comes to roofing or siding and all of that is just really increased. So there's another thing that us nonprofits too go through when we are, through Oregon Housing is, because the properties are rent restricted, we had to get a rehab grant for Songbird a few years ago. It took us 2.5 years to get a loan through the bank because of rent restricted property. So at that time, this was in 2021, the property was appraised at it was 7.2 million, but because of the rent restriction, it lowered the value down to 2.4 million. So pretty much when you have rent restricted property, the value to a bank is only worth 1/3 of what the actual overall market rate would be for a property. So it makes it a little challenging for some nonprofits when you have those rent restrictions, but the rent restrictions provide guaranteed low-income rents for the tenants in our community. So they have a big benefit to be rent restricted, but it makes it a little bit more challenging as the asset owner of the property.
So that $36,000 you were talking about, and they said that if it wasn't CDBG funds, it would be like roughly half that. It sounded like, did they explain Where does that extra cost come from? Is that just like
Prevailing
paperwork?
wages.
Because
Yeah.
they had to pay different wages?
Yep.
Okay.
Prevailing wages and then just more administrative costs. So I had them bid, first of all, I had them bid, this is prevailing wages, what would it be? And when I got the bids, I was like shocked. And I says, what would it be without? And then that's what I got a second bid on. So, because I wanted to see, was it going to be worth for us if we were reduced, on the amount, was it going to be worth going through the CDBG portion of it? But HVAC companies were all just a very little difference between the HVAC companies. So, which is good to know, our local HVAC companies are paying the prevailing wages. So,
That's interesting.
yeah.
So do you have so it looked like there were 6 projects. It's like there were 2 roofing projects, siding, and then 3 HVACs projects.
Right.
Kind of sub-projects in this, right?
So yeah, Songbird is it's a kind of a dual system. So it was a little bit higher for the HVAC for that building. Periwinkle Community Room does not have an HVAC system, does not have any AC, but it's not worth adding one to it when it's almost a 30-year-old system.
So you're going to replace that one with one that includes an air conditioner.
Right, with air conditioning. So now this, what's that? Yes, yeah, that would be there. So the state now is requiring, when the heat gets up higher, that you have to have, if you do not have AC available in your units, you have to have a cooling center. So we're kind of looking to the future. We need to make sure. Yeah, what's that?
You have to do welfare.
Yep, and then we have to do welfare checks if you don't have a cooling center, which is very hard when you have that many properties to check on everyone.
Yeah.
So there is a Senate bill coming up this legislative session, and it really scares me because it says if the temperature is over 80 degrees, you have to have a cooling center. Well, we're always 80, in the summer. But if it's 10 units or more, which is per building, then you have to have a portable unit. The landlord has to provide it for every bedroom. Well, we have one property that is 55 years old, and there's no way each one of our properties wouldn't even, you don't have the electrical power to a building to be able to do a portable unit in every bedroom. So that would be a huge significant cost. Fortunately, we don't have any buildings with 10 units, but you don't know down the road if the next legislative session is they lower that amount. So I want us to make sure that we're going to be able to have that, cooling center. So Senate Bill 54. Yeah.
I was going to ask you the variance between putting cooling in all the units as opposed to the maintenance of these cooling centers.
Yep, it was significant. So when I was trying to work with Energy Trust, they could be able to pay portion of each unit. It was still going to cost us out of our pocket. I believe Songbirds was going to be $100,000. So yeah. Things are kind of changing, a lot of it, coming down from the state, and that's why I figure we've got to have a system that we can rely on. And our Oak Street one is the one that we partner with Lynn County Mental Health. So they come in daily and be able to work with the tenants, and there's no AC, in those units too. So it'd be nice to have that. And then we have house meetings that are included, with the residents. And all those tenants do come from that are homeless that need to have mental health management. So
They want affordable housing, but then they put all these restrictions on that make it just almost impossible.
yeah, I could give with Donna Holt and I with Lynn Benton Housing Authority. Oh, when her and I get together, boy, do we go on about all the restrictions we have to go through. So
Sharon, the roof at Songbird, is that one big long?
No, that
or is
one
it
I
a
believe
complicated
is a
roof?
hip roof. I
Oh,
think
it's hip
that's a
roof. It's got okay.
Yeah.
Hips and valleys.
It's what's it called? It's not little dormers that come out along the sides.
And that's the $36,000 bid on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Periwinkles is I believe that's just a big gable. So
Right.
roof on that one, but yeah. And the siding on Oak Street, that one is the old press board type siding. It used to be on my house. It was built just the same year as my house. And it would be a big improvement just for the neighborhood too, to, have that house upgraded. I mean, that duplex upgraded, so on that, but.
So
Yeah.
one quick question on the Songbird project for the air conditioning. Once that's installed, does that provide air to all of the units through ducting?
No, that's just the community building.
That's just the community building. Okay.
Yep, yeah, so. Yep, then that way, all the tenants would be able to have a place to go if they have, most of them have a portable unit. And then if it's too hot, they have at least that place to go to, so, yeah. We did, when the inside portable units came available, good 6-7 years ago. So we would go ahead and buy them and finance it for the tenant for like $25 a month, and they would own it. And then Oregon Housing said we couldn't do that. So the tenant had to buy it themselves. So, and here we're trying to help them out. So, yeah. Okay.
Any other questions? I know. It's kind of good news, bad news type thing.
Yeah, I just wanted I was trying to find the budget page, but it would be really helpful, Sharon, as a follow-up and before we have discussions, commissioners, next month to break out the costs for the HVAC AC units versus the roofing bids so that there's separate costs for each property because, we have competition for funds and you would be able to I'll have to figure out how to make it easy to navigate CDBG and labor laws because once you do one project, you spend a penny, the whole project gets subject to it. And so just figuring out how to best navigate the federal requirements and stuff. So it might be in the application. I'm just scrolling through it now and I just want to make sure we have those, kind of pull that out and note what pages those are on for their discussion next month. So
right, and I do believe I have that in there, and it actually is on page A5. Yep, A5 under the application. It's all broke down.
page 172 of your packet. Okay, yeah, we just
Okay.
had a lot of pages and we didn't include every single thing that agencies submitted, like, we require chart of accounts anyway, we require certain things, but we just try to get the basics on the application and their budgets and stuff in this, so.
Yeah. Yep, so that's all broke down in there. Yeah. So, and I think, and also we had submitted the priority projects too. I think Ann had us submit that.
Yeah,
Right.
what are your priorities? So work through once we know what our funding award is, how to figure out how to, address
and
needs. Thank
That
you.
would have been under the attachment, the original cover letter was broke down by priority.
Okay.
So,
All right.
all right.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ann.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Yep, thank
Yeah.
you. Uh-huh.
Thank you, ladies. Yes.
Oh, here it is. Yeah.
Does that conclude the presentations, Ann?
It does. I'm surprised we
does?
made it within the hour. Next meeting is February 10th, and there will be 5 agencies presenting. So I think about 5 minutes for presentation and questions is about right, but we'll need the full hour next month. But hopefully with elections being done, we can just get right into presentations next month.
Or we might be able to go a little
Yep.
bit over if we need to. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
just, I haven't been tracking this, so I apologize if everyone's turned in their conflict of interest forms, but we'll need those before our second meeting in February where we start discussing as a group you start evaluating all the applications. So next meeting, again, is a listening opportunity. If you have questions in advance, if you could think of those. And hopefully the questions I asked them to cover are the kinds of things that might have been missing from the application materials. I sort of looked at what we got supplemental information from last year and thought, we should have them cover those in the presentation. So,
Okay.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, you bet. And I heard Caitlin say that we do have to do those conflict of interest every year, so
Yes,
they don't carry on.
correct.
I don't know. We didn't. We're all the same. We haven't changed a
Yeah,
bit.
but the applicants change.
Okay, so got that done. Next on the agenda is business from the public. Anybody? Any public? No public. Okay. Any business from the commission? Any questions,
Yeah.
statements? Robin?
So if you recall last commission, we already talked about our desire to draft a letter to council. Encourage the formation of a houselessness task force. I was to go off and attend the meeting at the fire station, which is a tactical meeting, largely a little bit strategic meeting about, and unfortunately I've been able to attend that meeting. Hillary and I have played phone tag. I think I just got to speak into it, actually.
Okay, thank you.
Hillary and I played phone tag about, and we were unable to kind of connect on the meeting, but we will in February. But in the meantime, if the will is there to proceed with the letter regardless, we can get in on the, into the meeting for February. So I wanted to pose that to the thing, because I don't believe any of the findings from that particular meeting will necessarily upset our desires to
Can you just enlighten us, just Reader's Digest version of what the letter said?
Yeah, I would even have it in front of me if I was better prepared, but yeah.
Yeah, we can have it on a future agenda. I
Okay.
wasn't sure we were going to have time or if the letter had been updated. So this is sort of a
Okay.
gift of time today to provide an update. And I think Commissioner Davis, if you will just let me know when you're ready to have the commission discuss this letter, we'll make sure to include the most
Okay.
recent version in the packet.
All right.
That sounds great.
I'll put
That
it for the
sounds great.
February 10th meeting then, if we could
Okay.
take another. And then in the meantime, I will have the opportunity to connect with her and attend that meeting. But the quick 1-minute version of that to answer Commissioner Johnson's question is, we're, as many cities our size do, we're asking we would be asking the council to establish a commission, a committee, task force, thank you, one of those words, on houselessness, given the fact that once the city disbanded one could argue very needfully disbanded the city camping, system that was going and largely mandated there. But that did make the problem go away. And indeed, one could argue through the latest census of houseless folks in Albany, that is in the national census on houselessness, that it's a growing problem. Well, year over year, something like 18%. So this is going to go away, and cities of our size have to address it. Otherwise, not doing the humane for our citizens. So that's what that is.
Great, thank
So,
you very much.
Yeah. you
Okay,
bet.
any other business from the commission?
I have a kind of a general question. I wonder if anyone has a sense of the risk that the block grants may be under at the moment. Has anybody been kind of keeping up with the HUD picture with the new administration in Washington? And do we know anything about that?
No, we don't. We had the same concern back in 2016, and the budget wasn't reduced. So Congress appropriates the budget. I don't know what's going to happen with it. I mean, the CDBG program is a small little component of all the programs that HUD provides. And I do think I remember housing being a concern across all platforms and parties, so we don't know. I mean, I was expecting a drop back in 2016 and it didn't happen. But I'm just concerned that we may not get our numbers until, April or something like that, which means we have to push out the final development of the plan, and we have to publish that for 30 days. And typically, if we knew our number in a reasonable time frame, we would submit our plan to HUD by May 15th. And they have 45 days to review that and get back to us, and if we have to make any amendments, so that the funds could hopefully be ready by July 1st, but it takes a while sometimes to get contracts signed. It's just ridiculous. So if we have any delays, it means that our action plan probably won't make a council meeting before May 15th. And, the council doesn't meet just on a whim, they have regularly scheduled meetings. So it just really bumps things out. And so my biggest concern is, what is the timeline going to look like? And even when there's not a change in administration, we've had delays. And you guys really can't make a final decision till we know the number. We sort of do this proportional thing, and it just gets to be a lot of extra work. So I'm hoping that we'll hear a number within a reasonable time frame.
That'd be great.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Ann.
Ann. Yes.
Can I just ask,
Yeah.
the housing implementation plan
Mhm.
that was put before council, can you give me an update on that? Was that as far as the fees, the development fees go, was that addressed and voted on yet?
So there was a first reading of 2 ordinances. One was for establishing a construction excise tax, which is actually not a tax on the residents. It's really a fee on development to help raise money for affordable housing. It's a fee on both residential and non-residential development. And then the other tool that got a first reading of the ordinance was a low-income property tax exemption for 20 years. It's been put on pause until the city adopts its budget. The CET won't have an effect on the city budget because we would be raising some revenue to then go back out into affordable housing programs. I did some more fiscal analysis of what a low-income rental property tax exemption might have on city revenues, and it will come back. It's just going to be several more months before it comes back to the city council.
Oh, so you're going to do that revenue impact analysis first?
Yeah, I mean, we had some numbers from Albany Partnership receives. It is participating in the current version of the tax abatement program. I took some just general, regular, normal apartment complexes and ran the numbers of, I think there's a concern, and these were concerns that were voiced through the public hearing that maybe it wasn't exactly correct information, but the project costs for a development don't necessarily equate to the real market value and definitely do not equate to the assessed value. So the assessed value of a project is often a small fraction of what it might cost for a development to build. So some numbers were provided that, caused some concerns with city management staff about, oh gosh, will we lose millions and millions of dollars in revenue? And actually, at least looking at my examples, no, the city would not, but there needs to be a discussion about the fiscal impact. And that was a piece that we probably could have had a little bit more discussion about. And we weren't asked to provide that to city management before, but we're taking the time to do that because these are challenging times. We're asked to do more with less, and the city budget numbers are, important. So
Great. Thank you, Ann. Any other questions? Okay, our next meet, as Ann said, our next. Oh, sure.
Veterans Housing Project, and we received a grant from OHCS between $10 million and $11 million. And we're going to build 40 units on the other side on Price Road by Serenity Lane. And so the project's moving forward, pretty excited about it. We do need to do some additional fundraising. So I'm sure you'll be seeing something from that as we move forward.
I'm sorry, where's that?
You know where Price Road is?
Yeah.
Serenity
the-
Lane
the
parking
big
lot?
okay, the roundabout. I always do everything with the roundabout.
Oh, this
Where's
is
it?
Price Road by the park.
Across from
Oh, gotcha.
Timberland.
Timberland Park.
Gotcha,
Yeah,
okay.
So,
All right.
so we've been working with city staff and everything's starting to move forward. So,
Gonna fill up that place.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Courtney?
My dad wants to move in.
Okay.
It's called Courtney's Place?
no, no.
Is that another one?
Right now it's Vets Housing. Right now, this
Oh, okay.
no official name yet.
Courtney Place sounds good, doesn't it?
Well, the one in Salem is called Courtney's Place.
Yeah, it is.
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness. Okay, great. Well, thank you, Commission. The next meeting is going to be on February 10th and apparently at noon, and it'll be here at the council chambers. So this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.